Victory Boy! Show me a move. Good news, everyone. When you see onions,
Welcome to 20th Century Boy. My name is Radio Waves Microphone, and this is the inside of my mind. Welcome back to another episode of 20th Century Boy, a podcast featuring me, Radio Mike, a young man in his mid-20s trying to make his way through the rough and tumble of being a millennial in this crazy modern world. I am Radio Mike, Australia's most lovable nerd, and I will be your host today and every other day that you listen to this podcast because, quite frankly, I am the host of this podcast. So you will never hear this podcast and there will be a different host. You'll never hear this podcast and it's like, g'day guys, Mike's away today, so it's I'm Terry and I am filling in for Mike today. Let's do one of Mike's classic segments. I'm Terry. There will never be a Terry on the show. In fact, making it a rule, calling it right now, Terrys are officially banned from the show. Sorry, from appearing on the show. You can listen. If your name's Terry and you listen, great, you're allowed on the show. But if your name is Terry... you were allowed to listen to the show if your name is Terry, but unfortunately you are not allowed on the show. So again, I'm your host, Radio Waves Microphone, aka Radio Mike, sometimes known as Just Mike, and this is a good fun podcast that you should recommend to all your friends. Special shout out this week goes to a new listener. His name is Radio Seth. Welcome to the Radio Family, Radio Seth. The Radio Family is the collective group of listeners of this podcast. As soon as you listen to this podcast, you are inducted into the Radio Family, even if you don't want to be. Sorry, you're in it. Too bad. Radio Seth has written in, and he's getting on board the in-jokes of the show. He says, "Hey Mike, forgot to wish you a happy 25th birthday about 15 episodes ago. So happy 25th birthday, and let me know if Radio Seth is taken. Cheers from America." Radio Seth is not taken? Well, now it is, because you've got it, Radio Seth. Well done. And the happy 25th birthday gag is, last year on my 25th birthday on December 12th, I said that whenever anyone listens to that episode, they should send me... the episode came out on my 25th birthday. I said, whenever you listen to this podcast, wish me a 25th birthday. Essentially, I will be 25 for the rest of my life. I will always be celebrating my 25th birthday on any day of the week purely because of that. So if you're hearing this, feel free to wish me a happy 25th birthday now. If you're just finding out about it now, feel free to wish me a happy 25th birthday like Radio Seth did. And awesome to have... I don't know if we've had any American listeners. I've seen the stats. There are people in America who listen, but I think Seth, you may be our first American interaction on the podcast. I could be wrong. If I am wrong, please let me know. But 100% well done, Radio Seth. That is, it's great to hear from you, and I'm glad you're enjoying the pod. Another one comes in from Radio James Ford. Welcome again to the Radio Family, Radio James Ford. Someone I'm hearing from quite a bit. Because as you know, well, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. You may not know this, but 20th Century Boy is Australia's only and probably the world's only, I'm not 100% sure, the world's only winnable podcast. You can win this podcast. And I do not believe there is any other winnable podcast in the world. When you win the podcast ends. So if someone does win the podcast, this podcast finishes because someone beat the podcast. The goal of you listening to this podcast is to beat the podcast. You beat the podcast by seeing me in public at this exact point. When you're listening to this exact point, you do a 360 spin on the spot. And if you see me in this 360, you've won the podcast. Just come up to me and tell me. Obviously, very hard to do now, as I've said a few weeks in a row because of isolation here in Melbourne, stage 4 lockdown. I'm not going out much. I'm staying inside. You might catch me on my way to Coles or while I'm going for a run. That's pretty much the only time you'll be able to catch me. But you cannot set it up, as I've said on previous episodes. And Radio James Ford is taking this very seriously. He messages me once a week with an update on how he went in the podcast this week. This week he said, "Hey Mike, didn't win the podcast this week. I thought I was close, but turns out it was just my neighbor. Looking forward to playing again next week." So apparently either I look like James Ford's neighbor or he just thought, it could have been me. So I'm sorry that your neighbor let you down like that and was a false alarm in this game. But message me. If you're successful, message me. If you're unsuccessful, feel free to message me. I'd love to know how many people are playing seriously. That'd be really good to know. A special thank you again to everyone who came to the second weekly Mike's Big Trivia Night. It was a lot of fun. There was a really big turnout, and I mean, I don't want to put words in people's mouth, but I did hear a few people saying that it was the most fun they've had in lockdown. I did hear a few people say that, not putting words in anyone's mouth. But essentially, I ran a trivia night on the podcast Discord. I will do another one this weekend, but I think I'm going to do it over Zoom this weekend so people that aren't in the Discord can join it. A lot of people played. Radio Alex Sky was the winner. He won a Release the Sound sticker. That was his prize, so that is going out in the post now, express post. So well done, Radio Alex Sky. And I should give recaps on the answers to some of the questions from the first week's Mike's Big Trivia Night, which I posed on the podcast last week for those who couldn't make it. The first question was, in the song Killer Queen by the band Queen, where does the title character keep her moe and shandon? And the answer to that question, I will play the lyrics of the song to you for you to find the answer to that question here.
Keep some moe shandon in a pretty cabinet.
It is the very first line of the song. The answer is in a pretty cabinet. Pretty cabinet is fine as well if you got that. The second question was, who played Jerry Seinfeld in the popular 90s sitcom Seinfeld? Few laughs at this one. It was a joke question. The answer is Jerry Seinfeld. He played himself in that show. And finally, one of the harder ones that a few people did get, and feel free to message me whether you got these right, was the voice actor for the character Shrek has a very similar name to the primary antagonist of a famous horror movie franchise. What is the name of the character and what is the name of the franchise? And we'll go backwards here. The voice actor of Shrek, of course, is Mike Myers. The villain and franchise, the villain's name is Michael Myers, who is the main villain in the Halloween franchise, which is one of the classic horror movie franchises. So, in order to gain more traction for Mike's Big Trivia Night, which will either be Saturday or Sunday this week, I will pose some more trivia questions from last week's Trivia Night. So, your questions to answer for this week, and they're a little bit harder, but these were part of the Trivia Night this week. The first one for you is, which children's book features a character whose first name and surname creates a palindrome? A. Charlotte's Web, B. Holes, C. Bridge to Terabithia. That's the first question. If you don't know what a palindrome is, you are supposed to know that. That's part of being able to answer the question. The second question that I will give you from Trivia Night on last Sunday night is, what are the first names of the Gallagher brothers of Oasis? So there are two answers there. And the final question for this week is, Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse appear alongside each other in one film. What is the name of that film? If you know the answers to any of those, send them through to me, and the first person to send the answers through wins a Release the Sound sticker posted to them. And that being said, I'm talking a lot about Release the Sounds, my band stickers. There are 20th Century Boy stickers on the way. Some of them will be to give away as prizes on the show, and then some of them will be purchasable as merchandise. So keep an eye out for that. More information on that coming very, very soon. So thank you to everyone who came to Mike's Big Trivia Night. Looking forward to another round on the weekend. Definitely shoot me a DM if you're interested. I'd love to have you on board and give you all the information you need to do that. I did get a very nice message from William, Radio William, on Instagram. He said, Trivia Night was awesome. Thanks for all the effort you've gone to making the trivia in the Discord. It was great fun, especially in this time where we all need much more fun in our lives. Love the podcast. Thanks, mate. So massive thanks for that. That was great. And after the trivia night, we a bunch of us stayed on until 11 p.m. just chatting, which was really fun. So jump in the Discord, especially if you live alone, or if you're an only child living with your parents. If you want to just chat, talk a bit of smack on a Friday or a Saturday or a Sunday night, the Discord's great. People get on and do voice chats and video chats, so it's a lot of fun. And yeah, lots of just lots of fun stuff happening on that. So yeah, I'd love to get more people in there. We're nearly at 100 members in there. So yeah. This week's been another pretty standard week. I'm on the Hamish and Andy podcast again today, and I'm appearing a lot on the show. I'm doing a bunch of like performing things on that show, which is really fun, and I'm having a blast doing a bunch of that stuff. So go and listen to that. It's a cheating quiz where basically the boys are trying to cheat in a quiz, and I'm basically assisting them from the studio. There's also a video which I'll put up on Instagram and stuff that you should take a look at as well, radio.mike on Instagram. And other than that, just my standard sort of week. Still feeling pretty bored in lockdown, but I'm just trying to chill out and, you know, reading a lot and relaxing after 6 p.m. pretty much. Sort of closing the book on work after 6 p.m. and just allowing myself to have the evenings off. And trying to just do more Zoom call, like FaceTime calls with friends and staying social because I'm living by myself. So one piece of news for long-time listeners of this show is that earlier in the week, I'm actually recording this on a Wednesday today, the day before this comes out. Which is later than normal, but I've just been really, really busy this week. Had a few more things to edit, had a few more things to do. So I've left it till, it's only 11:30 in the morning, so I'll definitely get it done, which is good. Feeling good about how I managed that time. But one thing that I tried to start, and I was like, I'm finally going to start it properly, sit down and do it, was to record the first episode of the Harry Potter and the Boys spin-off podcast. For new listeners, again, welcome. Harry Potter and the Boys was a fan fiction of Harry Potter that I wrote when I was younger, much, much younger, that was like a comedic meta fourth wall breaking Harry Potter parody book. And I used to read a chapter each week on this show, but I am now gearing up to do it as a spin-off series. This week, I did one of the stupidest things I've ever done. I sat down and recorded the first episode of Harry Potter and the Boys. But Mike, why is that the stupidest thing you've ever done, I hear you asking? Well, the reason why it is the stupidest thing I've ever done is because when I finished recording, I realized that at no point did I plug in the microphone. So I recorded the first episode with the microphone not plugged in. So when I put the SD card into my laptop to get the audio and start editing it, it was just a blank sound wave with no information in it because nothing got recorded. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just sit here and do it again. But then I was just tired and didn't do it again. So I am going to do it again over the weekend when I have a bit more time. I'm definitely going to do it, and I am definitely going to plug the microphone in. And Harry Potter and the Boys is in motion. I know a lot of people have been wanting it for a while. It is in motion. It is happening. It is coming soon. I am not just saying that. It is happening. I've literally recorded the first step, just didn't record it. I've recorded it. I didn't record it, though. You know what I mean? It happens to the best of us. And I am going to finish the first episode on the weekend. So sorry about that massive typical Mike fuck up. All right, I think it is time for me to address something that I guess I never really thought I was going to have to do this, but at risk of being cancelled, I've decided that I need to make a formal apology because over the week I have been doing a bunch of Reels. Reels is a new thing on Instagram. Reels is the hip new thing. It's basically Instagram trying to do TikTok, which I think will pick up because I just think that everyone wants everything integrated into one app, and Instagram's already done that with Snap. Like, it's done what Snapchat did. It does what Facebook did well. It has a messenger service. Now it's doing Reels. It's trying to do something YouTube-y with IGTV. So I think that Reels will work. And I was posting a few Reels. They were going off. Great. People were liking them. I was loving them. Cool. And then I did a Reel that some people just didn't sit right with. Some people didn't like it because apparently it went against my, usually family-friendly, I suppose, content. The Reel was, I'm just going to play the Reel here. There is some sexually explicit language used in this reel, and there is a visual in it that I will explain a little bit later. So I've had a bunch of girls tell me that pineapple will make my cum taste better, but I don't know, it tastes exactly the same to me. Alright, so the joke in this was that, you know, it's a reference to that old adage that, you know, like, and then people even listening to this are going to be upset about it. But at the end of the video, I drink out of a cup that looks like it could be cum. I'm just going to say it. Sorry if that offends you. Whatever. And honestly, a few listeners messaged me. Radio Christina with a K, long-time listener of the show. Welcome to the radio family again. She sent me a message on Insta saying, Mike, I'm going to be sick after seeing this, which was an absolutely excessive reaction, surely. Radio Kiki messaged me saying, excuse me, I was eating cereal when I was seeing this. And then and then a bunch of my friends messaged me, and the response to this reel was like, excessive. Like, people were so upset about it for seemingly no reason at all. But for example, my friend Tim, who I don't think listens to this podcast, but he sent me this message and he goes, hey man, I noticed the crazy content that you're putting out there. Pineapples, eh? And I said, oh, I thought it was pretty funny. And he said, cum is such a jarring word. And I just couldn't believe people were getting so upset about it. My friend James Blake from Radio Days started a group chat with me, Luke, Lewis, and Ebony, who used to work on our show, saying that, I'll actually just quote it. He said, guys, this is an intervention. Cum Mike is not allowed to return. Cum Mike is not allowed to return. Ebony said, agreed. I'm glad to attend this intervention. And then James said, it was such a deviation in mic-based content, which has always been family-friendly. I also got a DM on Instagram from a girl I dated 3 years ago. Count them. 1, 2, 3. No. Yeah, it was probably over 3 years ago now, that I have not really spoken to since then, but we follow each other on Instagram. And I was just so shocked to receive this message from her saying, and this is literally what it said, hey Mike, I saw your latest reel and decided to reach out and check how you're going. And a friendly reminder, don't change yourself for the content you put out there. And I just couldn't believe how excessively everyone was responding to this joke I made about my cum. Everyone does it. We've all done it. Boys, you know what I'm talking about. We've all done it. Girls, you've at least seen it. You know, I'm just putting it out there. Sorry if this quote-unquote deviates from my usually family-friendly content. And because my friend James from work kicked up such a fuss about me doing this content, I have decided that I'm going to formally apologize to him on the podcast today for doing this. And I'm going to get him on the line now and just apologize for what I did.
Hello, James speaking.
Hey, James, it's Radio Mike. How are you?
I'm well, Radio Mike. How are you?
Good. I've prepared a statement, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you by yourself at the moment?
I am by myself.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm just going to read it off this piece of paper. Hang on.
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah. James, and anyone else who may have been affected by my actions. When I made the reel about drinking my own cum, it was never my intention for things to get out of hand like this. When I made the reel, I thought I was making a funny joke. But at the end of the day, I understand that the joke deviated from my standard family-friendly content. I would like to apologise on behalf of myself and everyone here at Radio Mike Productions for our oversight. In risk of being cancelled, we want to say that we are completely against drinking our own cum. And just to make it exceptionally clear, at no point in the video did anyone drink their own cum. In fact, the cum-looking liquid in the video that was drunk by the actor in the video was actually water mixed with salt to create the translucent white greyish effect that cum might have. Although it was just a joke, we do appreciate that people were offended, and we want to maintain our family-friendly brand moving forward. However, we will not be removing the video from our content library, as we believe that would be pretending that the issue of drinking our own cum never happened in the past.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, and I hope that you know that all of us here at Radio Mike Productions are trying to be better people every day and learn from our mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you for taking the time to read that to me, Mike. I appreciate it. I just want to make it clear, I don't kink shame. That's just a tenet that I hold dear.
No, but it's not a kink because we didn't do it.
Yep, but just for anyone who might do whatever you do behind closed doors, providing it's consensual and doesn't hurt anyone, that's fine. But it was a wild deviation from the Radio Mike content that I expect and have come to love. I was shocked, and I think the excitement of Instagram Reels may have led you to not go through your normal processes and do something a little bit wild and different. But I do look forward to more light-hearted, PG Nickelodeon-style reels from you in the future.
Thank you for your time, James, and we appreciate what I can only imagine was you forgiving us.
It was. It is forgiven.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Goodbye from all of us here at Radio Mike Productions. Goodbye.
Yeah, all of you. Okay.
All one of us. Goodbye.
All one of you. Yep, bye.
Bye. Oh, well, that went much better than I thought it did. I didn't know if we were going to get the forgiveness there, because often when people get cancelled, there's no road back, but I feel like there is a road back from all one of us here at Radio Mike Productions, so we really appreciate the leniency and the support of our listeners. We understand now that a video where someone, whoever it was in the video, drinks their own cum, which, just to remind you again, was not actually cum. We understand why that may have been a bit jarring, why that may have been a bit jarring against our standard family-friendly brand, and we've evaluated that. So thank you to all of you for your feedback. All right. I've apologized. I'm not cancelled. We gotta move on. We gotta continue with this show by doing a segment that is just so much fun, that I love doing each and every week, and it's called this.
Lost in Translation.
Lost in Translation.
It's Lost in Translation. Old listeners, you know how it works. New listeners, I take a famous song lyric, I put it into Google Translate, I spin it through that bad boy 20 times to different languages. All different languages. Some languages include Chinese, Japanese, Italian, French, Hebrew. Today I did Hawaiian. Like, all different languages, and then I spit out what that song lyric ends up as after it's been gargled up by the Google Translate machine, and you have to guess what the original song was. Here's a reminder of what last week's song lyrics were after they were spit out of Google.
No, I don't want to bother you. Shrubs are people who hate. Let's start the journey with our best friend among the passengers to be with me.
I also did a video version of this on Instagram, and a bunch of people participated on that. So I want to try and do more of those. So thanks to everyone who engaged with that. And a lot of people have got this correct. So the clues were, I don't think I even gave any clues, but if you haven't figured it out, here's some more clues to get your brain spinning. It is by the singer of this song is female. I believe all of the members of this group are female. It is like a hip-hop sort of R&B song, and let's face it, it's pretty obvious. I think most people got this one pretty much straight away. And the answer to this week's Lost in Translation, which has become endearingly known by some listeners as LIT, as in Lost in Translation, LIT, the LIT of the week is, the answer is this song. It is No Scrubs by TLC. So many people, so many people. An influx, and always feel free to message me. So many people got this one correct. So many people participated, probably more because of the video version. They could see it. For example, we have Radio Mandy, who said it's Scrubs. She said, I mean No Scrubs by TLC. Radio Laura Eaton, No Scrubs, TLC. Radio Bruno, No Scrubs is a banger. And so many other people in my DMs. So congratulations, take 10 mic points if you got it correct. Very, very well done. And, we got to fire it up again. We got to fire up this bad boy that is the Google Translator on another song. Clues for this week. I think this, I would say, and I've said this a few times, but I would say this. Every single person listening to this podcast knows this song very well. Every single person, without doubt. And I think that you all know this song very well. That's all I'll say. That's all I will say. So let us kick off this week's Lost in Translation. You figure out what it is. Google, initialize the translation, whatever you call it each week.
Initiating translation process protocol. 22% complete. 50% complete. 77% complete. 100% complete. Translation result is: the music was good. You do not have to pay. You are not the only one who lives. You will not lose. This is a very special time in life.
All right, there you go. Those are your lyrics to decipher for next week's Lost in Translation. Send a voice message in to 1-800-438-353 if you know it, or DM me, email, whatever you want. Get in touch with the show. It's how we build the show here at Radio Mike Productions. You guys build the show. The listeners build the show. Your interactions help make this show what it is. So please keep on keeping on with participating in the show. RadioMikePod@gmail.com. It's Radio Mike on Twitter. Radio.Mike on Instagram. 1-800-438-353. Any of those are a great way, or any way you can figure out how to contact me. The Discord, the Facebook group, they're all there. Get in. Let us know you're lit. Okay, so keen-eared listeners of this show will know that there is supposed to be another rematch in Scissors, Paper, Rock, or Paper, Scissors, Rock, or Rock, Paper, Scissors, however you want to say it. Honesty Edition, which is a segment on this show in which I play Scissors, Paper, Rock with listeners of the show via the phone, so no visual element. And the key of the game is to call someone out for lying, and that's how you win. The first one of which was against Radio Cassie, and I beat her. Then the second round was against Radio James, who's been a recurring player of the game for the past few weeks, because we keep on tying. Neither of us can best the other. Neither of us can come out as the victor in this very difficult game. Now, we were supposed to have a rematch today. I have not heard from James. I assume he's busy, but I cannot wait for him any longer because I need to finish the podcast and do a bunch of other stuff. So we're going to do that next week because, James, you didn't get back to me. And I want everyone to know, and this is not to make you feel guilty, James, but I would like everyone to know, because this is a popular game. Lots of people messaging me saying they want to play. They want to get in line. They want to play. Because me and Radio James keep tying, we have to keep rematching. It can't be a hung result. Has to be a win from one of us. Because we keep tying, no one else can play. It's entirely your fault, James, and now you've delayed people the opportunity to play the game another week because you decided not to reply to my Instagram message. So guys, if you do want to play, I would be directing all complaints to Radio James at this point. So that means I had to think of something else to talk about, but that's okay, because there is something really important I wanted to talk about, and it's this big thing. I mentioned last week that I've been watching a bunch more free-to-air TV, usually just watching like Futurama and stuff on Channel 7 every night. And what I've noticed is, well, obviously it means I'm consuming a lot more ads, you know, because that's how free-to-air TV works. In case you younger people don't know, the program plays, then there's like 3 minutes of commercials and that continues for the entire duration of an episode of a show. And so a particular ad for a particular fast food chain has started causing me a lot of issues and a lot of just eye rolls, essentially. And that ad is for the brand new burger at Hungry Jack's. International listeners, Hungry Jack's is the Australian Burger King. It is the brand new burger, the Big Jack. I'm going to play the ad for you right now.
Big Jack, now at Hungry Jack's. Bigger, better, flamier. Special sauce and flame-grilled Aussie beef. Get free delivery for limited time only at Hungry Jack's. The burgers are better.
Okay. So here's my problem with this that I wanted to unpack on the show. Because Hungry Jack's, you've just... Not only is this like it's see-through... Like, we all know what you're doing. Everyone listening to this, everyone seeing the ad knows and understands what you're doing. We understand that you are you're basically making a Big Mac. You are making a McDonald's Big Mac, and then instead of calling it like your own name, you have deliberately called it the Big Jack, right? Like, you have deliberately called it the Big Jack, and that's like clever marketing tactic, because instantly you're showing your Big Jack. Your slogan is the burgers are better at Hungry Jack's. Like, yeah, great marketing tactic. But my problem with it is this, Hungry Jack's, and this is, I'm going to be really honest about it. I'm going to be really, really honest about this. My problem with it is that, unfortunately, Hungry Jack's, and I mean no disrespect because I don't mind Hungry Jack's at all, but you will never be McDonald's. I'm sorry, but there is no future of human history in which Hungry Jack's is a superior and more successful brand than McDonald's. It won't happen. It'll never happen. And it's like, and for you guys in particular, all of you there at Hungry Jack's, like, I know that crushes the hardest to hear, but I think you all know it. I think all of you know it. And like, some people, I think, even say like, oh, you know, KFC will never beat Macca's. I think it's different for KFC because KFC has a totally different offering on the menu to McDonald's. You know, they're about the KFC, the Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's what KFC is about. So I take them off the table. I put them in a completely different category of fast food to McDonald's. Hungry Jack's, like, it's quite evident from your burger menu to your chips to pretty much everything you do, your desserts, your storms, which are just discount McFlurries, frozen Cokes, chips and burgers, the way your food looks, the packaging of your food, you're trying to be Macca's. Totally fine. As long as you are aware, and I'm sure you are, that people only go to Hungry Jack's, and I'm going to say it, if there is no Macca's available. Hungry Jack's, perfectly fine. Very nice. Very tasty. But people will always go to Macca's over Hungry Jack's. No one is watching your Big Jack ad and thinking, oh, wow, a Big Jack. We got to get that. Everyone watching is just thinking, oh, really desperate move from Hungry Jack's. Really desperate doing the Big Jack. And you know what? I know, like, in your minds, the idea is like, well, let's ruffle a few feathers at Macca's. Let's call our burger the Big Jack. They'll hate that. But I think everyone at Macca's is on my side. I think everyone at Macca's is just sort of like, cringe. No offense, Hungry Jack's. I love your food. Your food tastes good. But please know you are the discount Macca's. You are the knockoff Macca's. It's like Pepsi. Hungry Jack's is the Pepsi of fast food. And Pepsi fans, believe me, I am the biggest, staunchest defender of Pepsi. Pepsi Max is my favorite cola of all time. I believe that most variations of Pepsi are better than Coke. You know why? Coke has way too much fizz. Pepsi are more subdued fizz. Coke is too foamy in the mouth. So, and the thing is, like, you know, Pepsi's whole thing is, hey, can I have a Coke? Is Pepsi okay? Yes. Because at the end of the day, when people say I want a Coke, what they mean is I want some sweet cola, right? They want any cola. They don't care if it's Coke or Pepsi or fucking LA Ice Cola. They don't care at all. But Pepsi's not coming out and being like, hey, this is the Pepsi Coke. And that's what the Big Jack is. It's Hungry Jack's trying to say we're trying to beat Macca's, and it looks clingy and it looks desperate. It looks clingy and it looks desperate. Pepsi knows what it is. Pepsi knows that it will never beat Coke, and Pepsi is okay with that. Pepsi knows that it is just as good, if not better than Coke, but people are always going to standardly refer to cola as Coke because Coke is the biggest brand of cola. People are going to refer to fast food as Macca's. That doesn't mean, Hungry Jacks, this doesn't mean your food is bad. This does not mean your food is bad. Your food is great. It's probably on par with Macca's. But know that most people are only going to a Hungry Jack's where there is no Macca's. I'm sorry that I had to say it so bluntly, but those are my thoughts on the matter. Thank you for listening to this rant on Hungry Jack's new burger, the Big Jack. Take it off the menu, guys. Name it something else. Name it the Big Whopper. You've got the Whopper. Name it the Big Whopper. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Would love to know your opinions, guys. And what are other things that are like obvious seconds? You know, like Pepsi, Hungry Jacks. Like, what's another one? I'm trying to think. Like things that are like equally as good. Look, Xbox to PlayStation. It's equally as good, but PlayStation is like the default console. I'm sure a lot of Xbox people will disagree with that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your examples. Let me know what you think of Hungry Jacks. Okay, we really do though need to follow up on the horror villain that is stalking this podcast. His name is Questionable Father. Questionable Father has been a menace on the podcast for a few weeks now. He started leaving creepy messages in a creepy voice. I tried to call the number and see what came up, but we ended up just getting a growling like monster voice, which was really creepy. And well, yeah, I'm starting to really freak out about this, and I know a lot of other listeners are too. And the speculation is wild about who the identity of Questionable Father may be. Lots of people are speculating, and I asked a few people to jump on board and volunteer themselves to be private investigators for the podcast to try and figure out who it could be. Radio Jacob, he said, Mike, I would like to be Radio Father correspondent. Will you accept my request and let me be your spy? I said yes, and he said, I won't let you down. I'm going to reply to that now and say, how is it going? Have you got any leads? Have you got any leads? I just replied to that because I realized I forgot to reply. And someone else that has, I believe, been a longish time listener, and I am going to bleep this person's name because they want to remain anonymous. They don't want Questionable Father. Just lots of people are wanting to remain anonymous. For example, Radio Nacho Cheese, the best friend of the show, and Radio Questionable Father, obviously anonymous, but he's anonymous as like a tease. He's trying to scope us out. This person wants to be anonymous because they don't want Radio Questionable Father to know who they are. So I guess we can't know who they are, because if I tell all the other listeners who it is, then I assume Questionable Father listens to this podcast. So, yeah. He wrote into me and said, hey, Radio Mike, just listen to the latest step of your podcast. So entertaining as usual. Whatever. Who cares? I'm not doing it for that. I'm not doing it for the praise, guys. I'm pretty interested in helping to find out who the creepy Questionable Father is. I'm a teacher, so unfortunately not a private detective, but I've always wanted to be one. And I'm pretty good at finding out stuff about people. No idea whether or not I could find out who he is, but I imagine he slipped up at some stage. Anyway, let me know if you want me to help. Admittedly, no experience. Admits that she has no experience in this field, which, you know, on first sight, does not sound like a great idea to just give someone this role with no experience. But here's what I think. She is a teacher, and my thoughts are that she's used to dealing with a bunch of practical jokers. She's used to dealing with class clowns. She's used to dealing with people who crave attention and really questionable father. You know, we all know all you really want out of this game you're playing is attention. We all know that. You're an attention craver. You want to impress people. You want to be cool and be on the podcast. Cool, man. Cool. You've made it. But we're going to figure out who you are. We're going to crack this mystery. Okay, so our secret identity anonymous private investigator is on the line now. We've used a voice disguiser, so you will not be able to recognize who it is, but they are a listener of this show. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Now, I haven't given away any information about you. It's best for you to remain anonymous so that questionable father can't, like, trace who you are, right?
I agree, because that would defeat the purpose, I think, if he was then looking for me.
Yeah, so I did read out the message you sent me where you basically told me, I'll bleep out a few things, but you basically told me that you're really keen on figuring out who it is and you're really good at finding out stuff about people, which is a quote from your message.
Oh gosh, yeah, I guess I did say that. I am pretty good. Pretty confident I can find him.
So talk us through your skills.
Okay, well, I'm not actually a private detective, but there have been many instances where I've been able to find out things just by Googling or searching on social media or things like that. One that maybe your listeners might be able to relate to, I think some of them might listen to Luke and Lewis, possibly. Way before Lewis stocked the warehouse location by saying there was a body found in a barrel, I was able to determine where their location of their warehouse was a lot earlier on than that. So I think that's...
Like the address or like the general location?
General location. First we had suburb and then we found like warehouse 6 district, not the actual address.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You do have references here, like you have prior knowledge and prior like experience with this, even though you don't do it by trade, like it's not your job.
Don't do it by trade. Wish I did do it by trade and did consider it. So maybe, I don't know if this goes well, I might be able to follow my dream of becoming a private detective.
Yeah.
But no, I'm not a private detective normally.
So, I mean, you're confident. Let's put it that way. You're confident.
I'm pretty confident. I'd be very surprised if we couldn't find him.
Talk us through, like, what you're a teacher? You said that in your message.
Yes, I am a teacher.
What kind of person does what he's doing? What kind of person do you think he is?
I don't want to offend. I don't know. I think it's a strange thing to do, but maybe offering to be a private detective on a podcast is also strange. Maybe a bit of an attention seeker. Obviously wants negative attention, so he's enjoying the negative attention.
Yeah.
And I don't know how careful he'll have been with covering his tracks. That'll be the interesting thing, because I teach cyber safety and digital technologies, and I think this would be a really good lesson for my students. Like, if we do catch him, just on what not to do, kind of, or how easily you are traced.
Great. Okay. And so I guess here's what I'm gonna offer you. I'm gonna say there is a prize if you figure out who it is. There is a prize. I will not say what the prize is, but at the same time, totally no shame if you don't figure out who it is.
I'm gonna be disappointed if I can't find out who it is.
Well, I will be too. I mean,
oh no, that's worse. Disappointment.
We've done all this. It'll be a we all know it's going to be a huge letdown if you don't do it. But I think this is motivating you to work really hard on it, right?
I think so. I'm a bit competitive in that way, and I don't want to disappoint anyone. I don't want to disappoint you or the listeners. I'm gonna try. We're in isolation. What else is there to do? Search for people.
And you said that your sister will help you, so you're not doing it alone. You're not going.
No, she often helps with this stuff. I don't know how keen she's going to be to do this, but I think she'll be able to help. I can get her in. She'll help.
And what I will say is that, pretty much all the listeners of this podcast are on your side. Like, they are rooting for you all the way. Like, they want you to win.
That's true. Okay, that makes me feel good about it, just having them on my side.
Just before we wrap up, I do have a strong suspicion against one person, and I'm off air. I'm going to tell you their name. I think it is this person, but I don't want to ruin it. But I'm going to tell you off air, and that can be your first launch off point.
That's my first tip. Good. First lead.
Well, thanks for joining me, anonymous investigator.
Thanks, Mike.
I didn't want to play this to the investigator because I wanted them to hear it live while they're listening to the show. This is the most recent message that I've received from Questionable Father. And it contains another riddle. Last week he left a riddle. This contains another riddle. And I will say, well, have a listen to it.
Hello there, Radio Mike. This is Questionable Father speaking. I was glad to hear how quickly you figured out that riddle. I admire a man with such speed. But I must tell you, I did something foolish when you called me the other day. You see, I forgot to change my voicemail greeting. And had you let the phone ring a little longer, you would know my identity by now. So, you got the answer. Name. It's just as well we got the easiest riddle out of the way first. It was a test. Now, the significance of that answer is that I will not tell you my name. But I want you to know more about me, much like I've learned a lot about you from listening to your podcast. Your cryptic clue this time is 13 numbers. I will read them out now. Have a pen ready. 14, 20, 12, 8, 19, 4, 20, 5, 21, 9, 18, 1, 19. Got it? Good luck.
So that's his new riddle or puzzle, code breaker thing. I can't work this out, and I would love for Private Investigator and anyone else really to start working on that code, because I thought it was just the simple A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, and then it'll spell out a word. But that didn't produce any results that was any English word. And then I thought it might be he'd scrambled the letters of a word, and then I unscrambled them on like a web app. And the only thing that came up was, the only word that fit was neutralists. So I don't know if it is that, but I doubt it is because it doesn't seem to make sense. But come on, guys, Questionable Father's smugness is really starting to annoy me. So, yeah, we do have private investigators, but we also want a few citizens. We want a neighborhood watch happening here. Neighborhood watch. We've got professionals. Yeah, they're on it. Of course they are. Great. It's no shame if the neighborhood watch helps out the professionals. We have a neighborhood watch. We do citizens arrests. That's what we do. So, guys, let's keep going. And let's figure out who Questionable Father is, because at the moment, his identity is really just questionable. All right, another big week of the show. You can support the show by leaving a review on iTunes. There is a direct link to do that in the description of this podcast. There's no new reviews this week, guys. Why? Why you do this? Why you do this to me? You can also leave a review for Dan Murphy's Q, my old workplace, saying that Michael is a very kind young man and some of your older staff could learn a lot from me. And you can compliment them on not blocking the MDF. What else can you do to support the show? Tell your friends, tell 10 of your friends, tell one of your enemies. Tell one of your enemies about the podcast because they might really like it, and then you might have something to bond over and not fight all the time. What else can you do? You can check out the Popped podcast, my other podcast, which is currently on hiatus. And you can go and follow me on Instagram, radio.mike, Twitter, it's Radio Mike. Send an email into the podcast, even if it's just saying, hey, Mike, I love the podcast, to radiomikepod@gmail.com. That would be awesome. Join the Discord, join the Facebook group. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's nothing that's springing to my mind other than all of that. So I guess I'll end the podcast the way I always end the podcast, which is by saying that my name has been Radio Mike. This has been the Inside of My Mind. Don't block the MDF. Goodbye, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Hang on, what? It's so long, farewell. Anyway, you get it, goodbye.